Hi.
Hello.
Not like we just said hi to each other backstage or anything.
Hey, y'all.
How's your night going?
It's going well so far. Definitely took a turn for the better after I lay down and napped a little bit. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you can take midday naps.
Thank you. I don't actually fall asleep. I just lie down and close my eyes.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah.
I can't fall asleep. That's sick. That's what sick people do. They're insane. How do you just fall asleep when the sun is out? I can't. Yeah. How are you laughing? I can't do it.
Okay, well, somebody is in tune with their circadian rhythm, and that's Dima. She's like, sun's up, so am I.
Yeah. I love that for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know if I'm quite there, but... Okay, so before we get into Shisha time, we're going to start with land acknowledgement. So Dead Project's collective members, me and Dima, rest on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Chippewa, Wendat, and most recently the Mississaugas of the Credit. But Toronto is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. This land was signed under the Toronto Purchase Treaty Number 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. So after the most recent events in Palestine, particularly with what started in Sheikh Jarrah, Dima and I can say were very moved, as were many folks. And many for the first time were just sort of waking up to this particular issue, which is unsurprising given the heavy censorship around Palestine. But as we continue to draw parallels between genocide and mass displacement of Indigenous peoples on Turtle Island, in Palestine, and in many, many other places in the world, I am reminded that artists and activists have been boldly making these connections long before I have, and urging us to remember the interconnectedness of these struggles for quite some time. Which brings me to this book, Talking to the Diaspora by Lee Miracle, a poet, author, and member of the Stalo Nation in what is now known as Vancouver. And I come to this book from time to time because it's such a beautiful collection of poems. But it felt particularly important as I was thinking about Palestine and Turtle Island, because on the dedication page, she writes, "For Mahmoud Darwish and the children of Gaza." And she actually also wrote a poem dedicated to him titled Remembering Mahmoud 1976. And Mahmoud Darwish was a very famous Palestinian poet, for those of you who don't know. But that's not the poem I'm going to read tonight. I'm going to read a poem titled Maps. I feel that it straddles and speaks to many places and peoples that have suffered genocide and displacement, while also, of course, coming from a place of very specific and personal suffering. Maps are orders marching men to old places already seen. Maps conjure memories of spoil, of plunder, and innocence. Maps are journeys to illusions no one has learned from. Maps are critical revisits, visions of never before seen repeats. Maps direct intentions, call attention, and expose previous being. Maps scatter reflection and delude well-being. Maps flatten surfaces, time, distance, even height, reduce critical illusions to trails of ink and color. Maps are pretentious, arrogantly purporting to know where everything is, pretending power where none is. Maps are finite. Maps are always old. Maps never lead to uncharted places. Maps flip our attention from being to place, from metaphysical time to streets, roads, and clocks. Maps cheat our perspective response to depth. Dima?
Wow. That was take 2 of Meta's ASMR poetry night.
Maybe not. Anyway.
It's just so soothing. I was like waiting for this all day.
Oh my God, stop. I read this yesterday too, but anyway.
We just want to remind everyone that you can type in the chat. You can ask Kaya anything you want. You can ask me or Nat anything you want. Relevant or irrelevant, it's fine. I'll just introduce our second featured artist of Contained featuring Jen Projects. Okay, I'm excited. Kaya Joan is a multidisciplinary Afro-Indigenous artist born and raised in Toronto, dish with one spoon treaty territory. Kaya's work is centered in healing practices, transcending linear notions of time, blood memory, and relationship to place. Rooting themselves in frameworks of Black and Indigenous futurist pedagogy, Kaya engages with methods of making that operate as ancestral tools to unpack and transform buried truths, opening portals 7 generations into the past and future. Engaging with their practice as medicine and connecting to and with constellations of kin, Kaya treats making as a mode of manifesting visions of joyful and abundant futures. Welcome, Kaya!
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and also thank you and congrats for putting together this fabulous exhibition.
Oh, thanks so much. We're so happy you're in it.
We really are. We love it. We love everything about you.
Before we get into it, we have to ask, because we always ask, what is your relationship to Shisha? If you don't have a relationship, why not?
Okay. I was thinking about this before joining. I've actually I've smoked a few times, but I distinctly remember the first time smoking. In grade 10, my friends took me to a shisha bar that was near our high school. And that was my first time smoking shisha.
In where?
In Toronto.
In Toronto, okay.
In Toronto, Yonge and Eglinton.
Okay.
Area.
Oh, interesting. Yonge and Egg.
Yonge and Egg. Yeah, that's where I went to high school. Very interesting area. The bar is no longer there. But yeah, that was my first time smoking shisha. And then a friend brought it over to another friend's house in university, and I smoked then. But that's about it. It hasn't been a regular thing for me.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. What high school did you go to? Not to
I went to
or anything.
Right. No, it's okay. In grade 9 and 10, I went to North Toronto, which was not great. And then I switched to Inglewood. Oh, snap! Okay. No way.
I lived on Broadway. Broadway. Yeah.
Right.
I know.
Street? Oh my God.
Yeah. Listen, you're not a part of this anymore.
No, I'm not. I'm not a Yonge and Egg person. Never will be. It's not my vibe.
You don't want to be.
Same.
Yeah.
That's why I left.
Yeah.
Small anecdote. I don't want to take that. Sorry, I have to. It's just so funny. So I was walking by, I forgot what it's called, but it's that really pretentious high school with giant track. So they had their own newspaper they were handing out, and I was walking to work because I worked at Urban Outfitters. And the newspaper, the title was On Being White. And then it was just a picture of these blonde kids. And I was like, I'm just going to move. Yeah, it was so bad. I was like, what is Yonge and Egg?
Oh, no.
And why do they think it's okay? I know, it was so bad. I took a picture of it. I'll send it to you.
Oh, man, nobody wants to read that.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess some people do. That's
some people on that cover really loved it. Yeah. They were so down for it.
Yeah, that sounds very North Toronto. That's something they would do. Yeah. On brand for them, for sure.
Well, hate that you grew up there. Yeah. Assuming you're not there anymore.
Definitely not, no.
Yeah. Okay. So, for people who at home maybe haven't gotten a chance to see the exhibit yet, could you let us know just sort of briefly what the body of work is about and what your process was like? Take us from beginning to end of the making of this work.
For sure, yeah. So the genesis of this work really started with watching the movie Alien, the original movie Alien, sci-fi movie.
Kaya, yes.
Yes, and I'm a huge sci-fi nerd and lover, so it was surprising that I hadn't seen it yet. But yeah, I watched it last, I guess, wintry time, and like most times engaging with popular science fiction content, I was just like frustrated at the like representation of Black folks and people of color in space, but then also simultaneously like fascinated and totally in love with all of the design, like aesthetically of the movie. An artist, Mobius, actually did the like concept artwork for the movie, and I love Mobius's work. So yeah, I was super intrigued. And there's this one scene where they go into the archive room of the ship, and it looked super rad. And it sparked this other connection with a quote that I had recently heard from a Mi'kmaq artist, Ursula Johnson, who said that the archive is a place where things can come and go, not a final resting place. So both of those things really inspired me to start thinking about archives and archives as being alive. And then also thinking like, how would my future kin be in a space that is archival, be in a spaceship, be in an archive in a spaceship? Like, what would that look like? What sort of things would they call upon and ask for? What sort of information would they want to know? So then I guess I've started looking at my own archives of like photos that I've taken, of walks that I've been on around my neighborhood. I'm super inspired by landscape as archive and like objects holding so many stories and richness to them. So, and then also looking in my sketchbook and like combining those things to make this imagery, and like really pulling out the spirit of the photos that I had taken, and like the drawings that I had done. And the series ended up being this like sort of fragmented stories that were like suspended in space. And I really loved playing with color against this black, like stark black background. I usually do a lot of color work. So yeah, just being very minimal and choice with like the lines that I was doing was a really fun process. And yeah, it ended up being very like microbial, but also plasmic. And so like plasma holds cells, right? And I wrote lore around this work and like this archival body of work of where it exists and how it got to that space of existing. So I'm imagining it as being on a spaceship somewhere, sometime in the future. And then the lore that I wrote is about the before. So like, what is the event that is the catalyst for this archive needing to exist in the future? And I loved what y'all wrote about it being like this aftermath of a home torn apart, vanished into the cosmos. And like the images that I've created are just glimpses of it in freeze frames. So yeah, also very inspired by Octavia Butler's in writings around space and how we will exist in space. So yeah. I hope
Thank you. The lore that you wrote for this was really, really good. And it was interesting because I was kind of curious too, like if that was something that you would want to share with people, like with audiences who see this work, not necessarily in this space, but you know, let's say you did another iteration of it. Would there be like more writing accompanying it, kind of like a story, or was that kind of just for you as like a part of your process in creating it?
Yeah, I would love to share it. I think thinking of this work in other iterations, it could be cool as like a multiple of some sort, like a zine, and then I would love to build upon the lore. The world in which that lore exists is a world that I've explored in writing before in another zine that I actually created last year called Starseed that does exist online. So you can find that through my website if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah, so the character like all that I write about in this lore also exists in that zine. So for sure want to share it and build upon it too.
And we can find that on your website?
Yes, you can. Yeah, the zine is called
Starseed. Yeah, so for folks at home who maybe don't know what we're talking about, the lore that Kaya wrote was essentially, sorry if I butcher this, interrupt me if I do, but it was kind of like a first person account of what had happened leading up to essentially like this space, this archive, and like the sort of catastrophes that took place. But it's not super like specific, like it's kind of speculative. So you don't give away too much information, but you can tell that somebody's lost their home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think that I like being kind of obtuse, I guess you could say, when I write lore, and it's very like all over the place, and I don't always connect things, because I like folks to dream their own in-betweens, if that makes sense. Think about the in-betweens on their own.
And at which point in your process do you do that? Like, do you kind of start with writing, or do you start with making and then you do writing?
Honestly, I think it changes. Writing is definitely a really huge part of my practice, but I guess when lore is involved, I will, well, sometimes I start with the lore and sometimes I end. It honestly depends on when that amount of detail is needed. Like sometimes I need to be prompt myself to fully engulf myself in this world through writing. So yeah, sometimes that is the beginning, but then sometimes that's the end to,
right.
It depends for sure.
Awesome. Working back to the space and your work, and how we work together as like two digital people. Because if we're like Sims or something, I don't want to say digital people. We're not real.
I love that.
I loved it because we were on the exact same page before I didn't even know what pieces you submitted yet, and I was already at your level, talking about the sci-fi and working with like spacecraft, and you were emailing us being like, I'm envisioning this like circular room, like a flying saucer. I was like, say no more. Like that's what I just modeled. I was like, how did they know? How did they know? Because we're insane. No, it was so fun working with you. And the black background with the color, it was just like making it. I was like in awe. I was like, I can't believe this just was so in sync. It's gorgeous. Even the spheres in the sky. I know we talked about how the texture kind of stretched it out, and you were just so open to it. You're like, yeah, hell yeah. I was like, okay.
It really worked.
Yes. It looked so good. So I guess maybe like, how did you feel working with this kind of digital space? And it was kind of revealed to you at the end, right? We were kind of like, here's the exhibition. You were like, yes. So do you want to tell us how you kind of worked with us and how you felt working as like a 2D artist in this like digital space?
For sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It looks so amazing, and it manifested like even better than I could have ever imagined. Yeah. I was like, I had created these flat images and I knew they had to exist in a 3D space. And at first I was like, oh man, I guess you could just like put them up in this 3D space and they'll exist like that. But then I got to thinking, well, I could take advantage of the fact that this is a malleable space. And then thinking about, well, how would I want the archive to look and exist? And I was thinking, of course, of circles and spaceships. I think it worked out super well. And I was actually very inspired by the planet Saturn, and like, that's what the shape of the archive initially I had drawn in my sketchbook, like was inspired by the planet. And so that's why I wanted like these orbs to be kind of in the middle of the archive as like the central, hub, almost as if they like have their own intelligence. So yeah, I think it looks like so good. I'm actually obsessed with how it turned out. You did an incredible job.
I was curious, speaking of the orbs, like I was curious about that. Like, what do you imagine these orbs to be doing, or you know, like what's their relationship to like the other contents of the space? Like, are they kind of like worlds within worlds, or are they something else? Or are you also kind of like not sure? And is that something that you're kind of discovering?
Yeah, I mean, definitely seeing them. There's an a like really beautiful unsureness to what they could be, but I was imagining the ship also being some like a sentient being. Octavia Butler, who is a speculative fiction author, writes of spacecraft as actual living beings and sentient beings. So I was imagining this room is like inside of a being. So those orbs could be like cells, they could be brain things, like some sort of organism. Yeah.
Right. So different parts of the whole.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, speaking of planets,
this is our go-to questions. Do you believe in astrology? And if you do, what are your top 3? And if you don't, what is your 5?
Oh man, okay, complicated answer on my part, I guess, because I do totally believe in astrology, and I love astrology so much. But I don't know if I have like a top 3. I'm a Cancer. I like Cancers, I guess, as well. Pisces, like water signs, I'm a fan of. I'm just thinking, like, what are my friends' signs? Oh no, I'm seeing a thumbs down.
Yeah, we don't like Pisces. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no worries. I won't tell them.
Into which signs are great and which signs are trash. We want to know what your sun, moon, and rising are.
Oh, okay. I can do that. So yeah, Cancer sun. Less controversial. I'm a Cancer sun. I'm an Aries moon, and I'm a Virgo rising.
I mean, I don't know why I'm raising my hand. I'm none of those.
Aries moon. I'm Aries moon, so we got that in common. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, suck, Dima. I'm also a fire moon, okay? I'm loud. I'll be a part of this.
Oh yeah, you're a Sagittarius moon. I always forget that, sorry. Okay, continue on with the signs that you actually like, though. I like this.
Okay. My partner's a Leo, but he's a Cancer sun, a Cancer moon, so that kind of like balances things out. Yeah. And then I get along really well with Libras, and Aquariuses. Geminis are super spicy, and I love them for that. Yeah.
It's true. Gemini.
I don't know.
It's true.
Yeah.
We love our gems.
Yeah. My mom's a Gemini, and I love her. So.
Aww,
yeah.
Cute. We love that.
Mad cute.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to the next question. We always have to get the astrology tea, and then we're like, okay, I guess back to work.
Yeah.
So what are you working on now, or thinking about next? Do you have anything coming up that we should know about?
Yeah. Well, something, I guess, like what is mainly on my radar right now. My friend and I are in a collective. We're called Milkweed Collective, and we just got this really awesome grant. And so we're going to be starting a podcast, which is super exciting. Just like interviewing rad community arts folks that we're connected to. We want to do some interviews of like people who are working in community garden spaces. Yeah.
That sounds great.
Super excited for that. And then hopefully throwing an event next spring, depending on what the world is like. And then I'm painting a mural next weekend, which I'm super excited about. Yeah. So that'll be super fun. It's in North Etobicoke. And then, I'm going to be launching my store again with some like unique multiples like tote bags and patches. In my calendar, I said October 1st. That's happening. So
that's happening. Even though Mercury's in retrograde, but yeah. FYI. I mean, I don't want to stop your business, but I'm just saying.
Okay. That's good to know.
And where do we find out more about Milkweed? Do you have a website? Do you have an Instagram? What do you have?
That is all in the process.
Okay, cool.
Yes. So very soon that'll be launching, and I'll obviously be promoting that through my own Instagram too. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So we got exclusive inside intel right now. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We haven't like officially launched yet, but very soon.
So definitely let us know when that launches and your shop, and we will spread the word. We will
Thank you. I appreciate
it.
Thank you.
Though, people can follow you on Instagram to find out more about that stuff. So if you're not already, it's on the screen wherever the arrow. Right there.
Awesome. So Kaya, do you want to tell us? I actually don't know this about you, but did you go to art school? And if you did, do you want to tell us how that experience helped you grow as an artist, or did it hinder it? Or if you had another path that led you to this this work? Let us know. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I did go to art school. I went to OCAD. I graduated last April, and definitely mixed feelings. It was a journey for sure. I started off in the illustration program, which was not a great time in my life. I did 2 years in that program, and it was very like debilitating and horrible, and took all of my soul, as art school can do. But then I switched to the Indigenous Visual Culture program, and got involved with the community at OCAD. Like the Indigenous Student Center does a lot of really awesome stuff. So I got involved with them, and the Black Student Association. So like community-wise, art school was dope for connecting me with really cool people, and peers that I love so much, and some really cool profs too, like Bonnie Devine, Tanis Nielsen, Suzanne Morissette, Lillian Allen, really cool people, amazing, inspiring mentors, but also, a lot of really shitty people, shitty profs, racism, horrible stuff that was not so fun. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Never heard that.
Maybe surprising, but
yeah, and like getting out of that, I mean, Toronto is kind of a relentless and rough city to be in sometimes. So like, how do you make it work? What do you do to make it work? What do you do to survive capitalism?
Yes. Love that question so much. And yes, totally agree. Toronto is, oh my gosh, wild. I was living in Kensington for the past like 3-4 years. And then I moved during the pandemic. Thank goodness. I'm really happy to be out of the downtown core because Toronto is getting so much more, oh my gosh, just intense and messed up. So to survive, I just like go outside in nature as much as possible. I live close to High Park and a ravine and the Humber River. So just like being around trees is literally like such medicine for me, and like being near water. So that's how I survive the city. And then in terms of capitalism, how do I survive that? Barely. Like I try my best. It's hard out here, but I don't know, just community again, like community saves me. Other like-minded people who are also out here trying to survive capitalism, but also dream of ways like outside of capitalism and away from this horrible world and system, and knowing that there are other worlds that we can build towards. So connecting with people like that and knowing that this isn't forever. It might not end in our lifetime, but I'm going to do all that I can so it won't continue. Yeah.
Well, that's really all you can do. Do you find that your practice kind of helps? Therapeutic is like, I don't know, maybe like a strong word, but do you find like that there is that aspect to it, or like do you feel like it's really separate now that you're like living and working as an artist?
Oof,
and that you kind of like derive that as a moment? Do you know what I mean? Or do you still feel like feeling moved by it in that way in relationship to what you're talking about, building different worlds and ways of living?
Yeah. Yes and no. Like I try it. Yes and no. The balance, oh my gosh, have not found that for sure. Yeah. Like working inside capitalism in any capacity is really hard. Making art inside capitalism is such a weird space to be. I was just talking to my grandparents about this earlier today, but I definitely try and align myself with like cool people like y'all, other folks who I like can still make a living, but then also do something that is not killing my soul completely. Like, applying for grants where I can do facilitation work to support other youth, and doing artwork that is like murals, making cool stuff in the city. So it's definitely a balance. And I try my best to do things that don't kill my spirit completely and take all the life out of me. But it's hard.
Well, I guess I'm asking because sometimes when your art practice starts to be something that you have to like really like administrate, quote unquote, like with grants and then working through the finances, sometimes that therapeutic aspect that we once had with it, like maybe when we were students or like younger, can sometimes dissipate a little bit. And I know I've personally found it hard to try to like make sure that there's still some like fun and play in it. So that's why I was asking you, because a lot of this, you know, activist kind of work and thought that you're talking about does show up in your work. So
thank you. Yeah, I try, but it is definitely exhausting. And I try doing things outside of art for work sake, which just like play. I love how you said that, like trying to play. Like I went to the beach a few weeks ago and I just like started drawing with rocks, just like arranging rocks into faces, and that was so much fun. It was just like, for me, I was just by myself vibing on the beach, you know. I want more of that in my life.
Yeah, that's really interesting how you mentioned. It's funny how artists during the pandemic have started kind of moving outside of the city core, whereas like that was the main space, right? Like Kensington, all those central areas. And that's where you would meet people, you would create, because you're around all these people. But now we're all just like separating and like getting further away from each other. And the only thing we have are trees that the city wants to take down. And it's like, yeah. Well, guys, now we're on beaches making faces and rocks. Like, what do you do?
Literally.
we have a couple friends in the chat who said hello. Hi, Layla. Layla was one of our artists in the last show. And hi, Fatma.
Hi, everybody.
Remember, friends, you can say whatever you want in the chat, relevant or not, as Dima said earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to some ridiculous questions. Have you ever had a crush on a cartoon character?
Oh, totally.
Tell us who.
Like almost all of them. Like, I'm like, yes. Yeah.
Like, cartoons do it for me. Okay, but was
for
it
sure.
because anime is
Okay.
controversial with us?
Yeah, it is controversial.
Wait, sorry, what did you say? Did you say anime?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I actually came into anime, I guess, like later in my life. That doesn't mean the crushes were not there, though. Actually, I just watched Hunter x Hunter. Oh, man. That's like major crush on, what's his name? The guy with the cards. Super cool, super slick. There's like a Scooby-Doo episode with this rock group of vampire girls. I had a crush on all of them. I wanted to be them. Like, how am I gonna
Scooby Doo? Am I right?
Where are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, speaking of cartoons, is there like a movie, a book, a TV show, some kind of work of art that you think is ridiculously overrated?
Yeah. Okay. I think like work of art, this might be a stretch, but like Kanye's new album Donda, I feel like has been treated as if it is a work of art. And not to like, I don't know, sure, albums can be works of art, but I think there's way too much hype around it. And the fact that he rented out a stadium for all these days and it cost him millions of dollars every day, that just is, that's overrated to me. And I'm just like so over the Donda hype.
Unhinged energy.
I am saying Kanye West is a first-year design student. That's what he is, okay? It's so tacky. I hate it. I was like, why are you built a church and you're on fire? What? Who cares? Who cares? I literally
too much.
Care. It's so much. It's like it could be even first-year art school. Like it's when like a young artist or designer just wants to like make something cool and they're like on Pinterest and they're like, well, I could do this, but they have money, right? Like he has so much
That's
money.
the thing. Yeah, exactly.
Wow, I really appreciate this critical review of Kanye.
Right?
It's just ridiculous. It's like it's fun, but like yeah, it's so overrated. The album is very overrated. I'm sure if it wasn't hyped up, it would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just he's a god. I'm like, is he a god? Look at him.
Layla agrees.
Layla.
I have to say, y'all, I was a big fan of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, though.
We all were.
Right? That was great. That was like,
yes.
Yeah, he really
Yes. He really did. Yeah. Like, there are Kanye songs that I play and that slap, and even songs from that album, but I think it's just, too much hype. It's like, okay, It's not that deep. It's really not that deep.
Yeah, exactly.
And everyone else who's hyping it up, yeah.
Designer has spoken.
Thank you, I have spoken.
Refer to Dima as Demziner. The background to this is that Dima previously refused to refer to herself as an artist, and some of us were annoyed. Layla and I specifically were like, "Okay, you're a designer."
Even more.
We get it. Yeah. So she's just Demziner now.
Yeah.
TM.
What's a genre or medium that you love but currently don't work in, and why?
Woodworking is something that I really love. I got to build Sorry?
Haven't heard that one. I love this answer.
Yeah, to a degree. Woodworking, I'll explain my experience with woodworking. I got to build a garden space. So it was more like in a landscaping sense. But like we used wood in so many different capacities. Like we made archways with wood, made these cool stump benches that I got to do some wood burning into. I got to use this axe to carve fence posts, and it smelled really good because a lot of it was cedar. So I really would love to continue doing work with wood, but that requires a lot of space and tools that I don't have access to at the moment. Similarly, clay. I really love working with clay, but also don't have access to a space to do clay work at the moment.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's true. Yeah, woodworking, not very accessible. Clay, I guess it's just the firing, right? You need to have access to a kiln.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think I could definitely do clay work I think also time-wise, it's I just haven't made the time for it.
It's a lot. It's a whole other thing. Yeah.
That's just so annoying because exactly, it's such a resource you don't have, and it's okay, so now I can't create. You might be the best person at that thing, but you can't do it. So you don't have fucking space.
Yeah.
So what? And then when you want a space, it's $400 an hour. I'm what? Without material, I was this is wild. This is absolutely wild, and you are destroying Toronto specifically. You are destroying artists.
This is where capitalism fucks
John
us.
Tory, yeah. You hear me? Maybe he's in this.
Hear me.
Enter the chat. Hey, should we do the infamous?
Okay,
Are you ready?
We're gonna bring up our infamous marry, fuck, kill question.
Ooh, okay.
Let's find it.
I have it.
Oh, you have it?
Are you ready?
Yeah. Marry, fuck, kill, Kaya, Facebook Marketplace, Kijiji, or Craigslist. You're oh god, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're oh no.
Okay, I will kill. Oh, wow, this is difficult. Okay, I personally don't use Facebook Marketplace that often, so I will kill them, I guess. And then I would, but, oof, yeah, okay, I guess marry.
We go back. We haven't solidified the answers yet.
Marry could. I use Kijiji a lot. I don't know. I look for cats on Kijiji often.
Oh my god, that's so cute. Oh.
Yeah, and then Craigslist I haven't used, but Craigslist misconnections are super fun to read. So I guess fuck Craigslist.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, and
I don't know.
Marrying?
Kijiji, right?
We're marrying Kijiji?
I would marry Kijiji.
Okay.
You're so concerned. You're I don't know though. I don't know them enough to do these things.
I don't know Facebook Marketplace enough. I know.
Originally, Layla was Craigslist is dead. And then she was oh, but actually misconnections.
Craigslist is dead. That's the only thing I go on Craigslist for. It's misconnections.
I was thinking the same. I was do people still buy and sell things on Craigslist?
Yes,
what?
I go on Craigslist. However, there's two specific reasons. The first one was misconnections, of course, because I had a friend who was on it, And then my other friend found the little blurb, and we hid it from her. Yeah, it was crazy. We hid it from her because I don't know why he did this. He like emailed the person.
Oh my God.
And then he was like, oh, I think you mean my friend Alex. And then the person on the other side was like, oh yeah, why are you messaging me though? And he's like, oh, because she doesn't know. And he's like, but why are you messaging? Like, does she want to meet me?
Oh my God.
He's like, oh, she doesn't know I even messaged you about it. Yeah, it was so wild. So she was on the bus, and then someone wrote about her, and it was like to the T, like the jacket, the hair, the time, the bus, everything. So he found it. He just like took matters into his own hands, and I was like, what is wrong with you? Yeah, this is just men being stupid. He was like obsessed with the fact that we found our first misconnection.
Oh my God. That's definitely misconnections gone wrong.
That was so bad. I don't think she knows till this day. It's been like 15 years.
Oh my God.
That's wild.
I know. And then the other reason I used Craigslist is because when I moved out, I also had a pandemic move. And I wanted to see, my landlord was such a dick, so I wanted to see if anyone was renting his place. And for the longest, I would check like every day. I'm like, I wonder if the ad is still up. So I would just check continuously every day. And it was still up.
Oh my God.
Then he went to Facebook Marketplace, and I was like, I could play all the games you want there.
I am there too.
The fact that you have such an intense relationship with like every single one of these marketplaces.
I know. I would marry all of them.
Yeah, clearly. I'm not gonna lie. I think I would fuck Facebook Marketplace. It's like it's a mess. You know,
Yeah,
I kind of like that.
Messy vibes.
Yeah. But I am like you. I love Kijiji. I use Kijiji all the time.
Do
I'm
you?
like, I'm a fucking boomer. I don't know what to say. Like Kijiji's just it.
Right? It is.
Yeah. No, I can't. I don't like the interface. And Craigslist has a map. Like it has a map of things. Layla, thank you.
This is exactly what I'm thinking too. I'm like, why would you put anything up on Craigslist?
He's Gen X. What do you want? Yeah.
The worst generation. Abdul said hello.
Hi, Abdul. Thank you for joining. Even though you said you had to go to the gym, that's really nice.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Real one.
Layla's like, Marketplace is it for me.
Yeah, Marketplace really good. I saw someone trying to sell their retainer.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
That's disgusting.
For so many reasons, that just would not work.
Yeah. Also, yeah. How would somebody have the same?
I don't know how things work.
Oh my God.
Maybe they sold it. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it was me selling it. Who
I was just
knows?
gonna say,
Maybe.
I want to know what like marketplace algorithm you're in.
Oh yeah.
Even had that come up. Like what? Why?
That's true, right?
Yeah.
Why
would it-
marketplace? She's fucking marketplace.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
I need to get in on this. I'm going on Marketplace right after this.
I'll send you all my hot leads.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Please.
Okay, well, I think this wraps up our last Shisha time for the month. Thank you so much, Kaya. Folks, if you haven't yet, remember our exhibition is still live at deadprojects.ca. Yes, right there. It's going to be on until the end of the month, where you can see Kaya's work, Naz's work, and Kirsha's work. Kaya, thank you so much. Once again, remember you can follow Kaya at Kaya on Instagram, and hope you all have a good night. Bye, everybody.
Thank you all.